And as we know, there are different types of energy. I wanted to start off by giving you a percentage breakdown of types of energy in the US in 2017. Natural gas was at 31.8%, petroleum at 28%, coal at 17.8%, renewable energy at 12.7%, nuclear electric power at 9.6%. And according to the latest data from the US Energy Information Administration, EIA, in 2013, fossil fuels, petroleum, natural gas, and coal accounted for approximately 83% of total US energy consumption, with petroleum remaining the most consumed fuel, while renewable energy sources surpassed coal for the first time in nearly 140 years. So, with that being said, why did you want to see this movie in the first place?
And again, feel free to either unmute and answer or type in the chat, whatever is easiest or just most convenient for you.
Why did you want to join this event today, and what did you find most interesting with the movie, and what are your overall thoughts? Anything you want to, start off with? Your first thoughts.
I guess I'll start off. It was depressing because there really isn't a way out of the mess. And I keep on hoping that somebody will find something one day, but I I kind of knew a little bit about it because they said that I didn't know it was this bad, but what I did know about was that, wind turbines don't last forever, neither do solar panels, and that they would be tossed in the garbage, in a landfill eventually. And I mean, I understood a little bit about that, but I really didn't understand how fully the problem was.
Yes, for sure. Thank you for sharing. I
Yeah,
think, yeah, no,
yeah,
go ahead.
that's a great answer. I mean, it is something. It's like I feel like even as much as we hear about it today, it's like it's hard to kind of visualize the degree to which it's all happening. But
Mhm.
again, I think it's like something that it's a hard pill to swallow, but I think it's something the more people see the extent of it, the faster we can get people on board to doing something about it. Because a lot of people do not believe that like this stuff is really making a difference, and it very much is.
I think I found a lot of aspects of the movie almost surprising. I didn't think the situation was as bad as like you said, it's something that people don't know about, and movies like this really bring out the details of what's really going on, and I think people need to see stuff like that to really know what's going on and what's good, what's bad. I think action starts from, getting all the knowledge you need. And that's like a first step into, doing anything about it. So,
Definitely. And if some people are still typing in the chat, we're gonna be it's gonna be we'll be able to see it as it goes on. But I'm gonna just move on to our second question of the night in the meantime. So it's kind of similar to the first. Is what did you like or dislike about the way it presented the topic of energy and the environment? Like I know we talked about how it was like depressing and overall just like again a hard truth. But I guess the way it was presented, like I guess the things we saw. How did you like the overall production of it?
I personally thought it was very authentic, in a sense that they revealed things that wouldn't be accessible to people if you just Google it. They went behind scenes and, showed some things that people wouldn't know when going to those environmental events, for example, and not knowing what really happens in the back end, in the setting up of it. So just revealing some things that found authenticity. And it was just informative. I think it was just information and not biased to some extent, and I think really I like that aspect of it.
I think with especially with a topic like environment, I think it's very easy to kind of like, I guess, have a vision going into it. And sometimes like the facts are always presented, but there's a difference between like letting the facts kind of speak for themselves. And I think the movie did a great job of just kind of showing, not telling like what side they're on necessarily, but just showing like this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, and then the movie also raises concerns about renewable energy that truly benefit the environment. So what challenges or trade-offs do we face in transitioning to renewable energy sources? Because I know that there are different types of renewable energy and things we've seen throughout the movie. So, what are some challenges or trade-offs that you think we face in transitioning to, the better side, the renewable energy sources side?
Basically, what the movie was trying to say was that there really isn't any great alternative because it's all going to use fossil fuel anyway. So,
Yeah, I think we don't. One thing that movie kind of pointed out well is I don't think we realize how pervasive fossil fuel is. I think a lot of people just kind of, myself included, I just hear it and I mainly think of like cars and stuff like that and just kind of exhaust. But like it is very extensive and it's just like it is unfortunately like just so mainstream, like so commonplace in industrial practice that it's like it's just so cemented. It's very hard to kind of switch, especially when we're in this deep with it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And feel free to use the chat box if you have any comments, even if it comes later on. We're happy to hear your thoughts. And it's also really easy to think about renewables as a silver bullet, but as the film suggests, every energy source has trade-offs. For instance, even wind turbines require materials that have to be mined, which can have environmental consequences, like Jessica mentioned. The movie didn't specifically mention a lot of laws either, but there are some of the laws that I would like to bring to your attention. So back in 4th century, the water wheel was invented in Mesopotamia to grind flour and grains. And in 1758, the first commercial coal shipment in the US was recorded. And then in 1897, the first 12 electric cab operated in NYC, which would quickly be replaced with gasoline engines with the electric starter. And then in 1970, the Clean Air Act was passed, which was amended in 1990, requiring many changes to fossil fuels to make them pollute less. This was when natural gas was promoted as cleaner burning fuel in power generation and transportation, increasing the use of natural gas. And then finally, in February 2021, an extreme storm event caused a massive electricity generation failure in the state of Texas, which resulted in a loss of power for more than 4.5 million homes. This brought light to the energy crisis and the failure in planning and operation of the grid. Policy is often a reflection of our priorities as a society. So let's think critically about how these policies shape when energy sources are developed and how they're implemented. What role do government policies and regulations like the Clean Air Act play in shaping our energy future? Are these policies sufficient or do they need to be updated? And if so, what are your suggestions or what are your thoughts overall on the policies?
Well, I guess one thing I will say about that is I think we kind of have to, I think this is an issue that obviously affects the whole world. I think we really do have to kind of strengthen our, I guess, international relationships at the very least when it comes to climate change. I mean, like, because as much as we do as a country, there's still going to be other countries operating on their own kind of standards. Maybe if we get a lot more eco-friendly, maybe other countries are still going to be churning out industry stuff, but we really have to tackle this like worldwide. So I think kind of global coalitions and stuff like that are really integral to the future of our planet.
I agree. And I think while large scale solutions, like you mentioned, are essential, we should also look at individual actions that can drive demand for cleaner technologies and influence policy changes. Every choice we make sends a message. We can start from a very small level on our day-to-day lives. And yeah. And how do you think, as a community, we can help others understand energy and the environment? What are some resources that you might suggest or, um, help educate the community in general?
Well, I know I'm participating a lot, but I think we can start by just educating ourselves on the differences between renewable and non-renewable energy, clean energy, sustainable energy, and greenhouse gases. Remember, renewable energy includes stuff like green energy, wind, water, and solar, while non-renewable energy sources are oil, natural gas, coal, and nuclear energy. I also think we can look up to notable people such as Nikola Tesla, Lisa Jackson, and even more recently, Greta Thunberg, people who have like really stood the test of time with their contributions to this world and their commitment to a better planet.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing.
And
Uh, Tyler in the chat
yeah,
box said, I always like recommending to turn things off when they aren't in use and being mindful of the way we're using energy inactively. Yes, for sure.
definitely. The amount of times I leave lights, I always feel so guilty about it because it's just yeah, it's just sometimes you come back from being out for a couple hours and you see the lights are still on, you're just like, oh, that, but it's
Mhm.
a, yeah, and it's just a really small thing that we can do. But again, the more people do it, the bigger of an impact it has, the more we can help. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I think I recently switched out some of my bulbs into the Wi-Fi bulbs. So even if I forget it, I can turn it off from my phone just in case, or just check, oh, I left my lights off or on and just adjust it. So technology is obviously improving and helping in that sense to some extent. Long way to go though. So, and some of you may have found this movie to be a powerful movie. Why was this movie powerful to you? Oh, Jessica said she needs to leave early. Thank you for joining, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you for stopping by. And I think Jessica kind of answered that question for us to an extent with what she said about just kind of the depressing feeling of it kind of feeling inescapable. And it's hard to kind of it's hard to not feel that way after seeing again the extent of things, but are things we can do as a community, as a country, as a planet. And again, so I understand the feeling of it being depressing, but I think that's why it's so powerful because it shows you like the severity of this issue. Like people talk about it so much. I feel like honestly, I'm 22. I've grown up hearing people talk about it. It just, you hear it so much, you're like, oh, it's just a fact of the world. And it is a fact of the world, but it has dire consequences. And each year we get a little closer to those consequences.
Definitely. I think you're right. The movie did point out a lot of severity and the extent of how bad things are. And that's very important to see because in our day to day, we don't get to see how bad things are. We're just left in dark. So being able to see movies like that actually show what's really happening, or just, reading up on books or understanding what's going on, keeping up with it, with newsletters and everything to see what's really going on. Um, it's like a first start. Like I said, knowledge is always like the first stop, before we do anything about the situation, just understanding what it is. So yeah, and what are some tips from the movie or your own tips about how to use energy wisely? I know Tyler mentioned switching things off, but are there any other energy saving tips, conserving energy resources that you've used or would like to suggest or start using in general?
One thing I recommend, and I've been kind of adamant about this for a long time, I really do recommend a reusable water bottle. It's a very small thing, but I think it's so useful. Like it's not only does it help save the environment just one water bottle at a time, but it saves you from having to like buy water bottles. I think I always get annoyed when I pay for water. Yeah, it's safer for you too. Yeah, you don't know. So you don't know what's in some of these water sources, but New York City is actually getting really good with a lot of free bottle refillers are near water fountains and stuff like that. Water fountains are of course like pretty much everywhere, and a lot of modern bathrooms, places inside, will have the little water fountain with the bottle filler. So it's a lot easier to use a refillable water bottle than it's been ever. And I've been so adamant about it. I recommend the Contigo brand. I think it's very, I don't, I just, it's very durable, very good. And I just think it's such a small thing you can do. It saves you a lot of money in the long run, and it saves the environment in the long run.
Yeah, it starts from the little things. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending this discussion and learning about this topic with us. I will now pass it on to Jake to conclude.
Yeah, so you guys have heard a lot of me today. I like answering questions. This movie got me thinking a lot. I just want to thank you guys again for joining us for the film Planet of the Humans. Because the topic of energy and the environment is an ongoing conversation. It's not just a one-off topic. We'll send our infographic and a follow-up email that includes reading and just further understanding. And we encourage you to share that infographic with friends to help others learn about this topic. You could also commit to one action to promote energy and the environment each week. Stuff just like being a conscious energy consumer and being mindful of the ways you could reduce your energy consumption daily. Things like carpooling to work, like Tyler said, turning off stuff when not in use, and learning just facts about the world, about the environment, renewable energy sources, non-renewable sources. Even like one thing I like to look at is like there's different numbered plastics, and at least in New York City, the recycling only takes plastics one and two, and I see a lot of people put out other plastics that don't get taken. So I think it's interesting to learn just like the intricacies of recycling system and stuff like that. We can also learn about what happens when things turn disastrous, unfortunately, and understand the causes of these events and consequences involved with the production and destruction of energy facilities. Stuff like Chernobyl is an infamous example. And in terms of getting informed about this topic, coming to this event is a great way to start. Some other things you can do, like volunteering is always great at an environmental organization in your area, maybe a sanctuary conservation place, or even wildlife reservation. Reducing light pollution to help nocturnal animals, keep learning and understanding the value of sustainability, conservation of energy, innovation, science, and just the quality of life. And just before we go, I'm gonna put up a quick poll for our members here, just kind of asking you some general questions about the topic today and over that kind of stuff. It is not the same survey you'll receive in our post-event email, just to clarify that. And again, to look for and learn about more great Inform Your Community events, not just our popcorn and chat movie events, but stuff like our Know It All, which are events which are kind of like a Q&A discussion panel led by an expert on a topic. We have Craftivism, which is adult crafting. We have Celebrate and Create, which is kids crafting. Events from our other programs, stuff like that. Check out our website at informyourcommunity.org. And please consider donating if you found this event interesting and just want to support the chapter. We always appreciate it. And I just want to say one last time, thank you for coming and for helping inform your own communities based on what you learned today. I'll give a little more time for the poll, and then that'll be it all for today. Thank you guys for staying the whole time. I hope you guys enjoyed the movie.
Thank you everyone for coming.